All right, we're going to go over the problems on 2-5 so that you can see what you did incorrectly. So we are solving these systems of equations by using elimination. Remember, the solution to a system of equations is a point of intersection. All right, so the first thing that you want to do when you're looking at elimination is you want to see if there's a variable that you can eliminate. Can you add them and they'll go away, the two equations? Or can you subtract them? If I look here, if I add these, 2 and a negative 2, my x is eliminated. So I'm going to go ahead and add all the parts. So 11 and a negative 6y is 5y. 5 plus 0 is 5. Okay, so I eliminated that one variable x. So now I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to divide by 5, and my y is equal to 1. I'm going to come over here and put that in my solution in the y spot right here. That's a 1. All right, now I'm going to take this 1 and I'm going to substitute it back into either equation you can pick for y. So I'm going to take the top equation, 2x plus 11y equals 5. And right here for the y, I'm going to put a 1. Now I only have an x left, and I can solve for that. So 11 times 1 is 11. Numbers to the right, so I'm going to subtract 11. Then I'm going to divide by 2. So my x is equal to negative 3. All right, this part right over here is the same as we were doing in substitution. The last step of substitution was substituting in a number for a variable. Okay, so let's go look at number 2. All right, when I'm looking at number 2, I notice that if I add or subtract these, I would either get a 2x or a 4x. I can't get rid of them. Same thing here. I'd either have a negative 3y or a positive y. Well, let's see. No, yeah, so I wouldn't be able to get rid of either one of those. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got to see what can I multiply. Well, if I want to get rid of my x's, I've got to multiply the top one by a negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply this whole thing by a negative 3. So I'm going to take negative 3 times x, gives me a negative 3x. Negative 3 times a negative y is a positive 3y. And then don't forget to go all the way over here. Negative 3 times 10 is a negative 30. Okay, now I'm just going to take this equation and write it right underneath it. So I have 3x minus 2y equals 25. Okay, now I'm going to add these. Negative 3x and a positive 3x, that cancels out. 3 and a negative 2 is a positive y. You can put 1y if you want to. Negative 30 plus 25 is a negative 5. And my y is equal to negative 5. Make sure you put it in the y spot. Then I'm going to take either equation. I'm going to go ahead and take the top one because it looks a little bit easier. I'm going to take x minus y equals 10. And in for my y, I'm going to put negative 5. Don't forget to write that minus sign down. Okay, minus a negative is a positive 5. Okay, so numbers to the right, I'm going to subtract 5. I'm going to get x equals 5. Okay, so 5, negative 5 is my answer. Remember, you can always plug these back into the other equation and check them. All right, let's look at number 3. Okay, on number 3, I've got to look. If I add them, I won't be able to get rid of them because they don't have the same coefficient or opposite coefficients here either. So I'm going to take this bottom equation and I'm going to multiply it by a negative 3. Because negative 3, oops, I'm going to have positive 3. Positive 3 times 3 gives me a positive 9, and then they'll cancel out. All right, so I'm going to come over here. 3 times 3 is equal to a positive 9x. 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6y. And then 3 all the way over here to the other 2 is a 6. Now I'm just going to write this equation right on top. Negative 9x plus 5y. I'm not doing a thing to that, just copying it. Now I'm going to add these. Well, I've got a negative 9 and a positive 9. Those cross out. 5 and a negative 6 gives me a negative 1y. And then 6 and 1 is 7. Okay, divide by a negative 1. And my y is equal to negative 7. So I'm going to come over here and put it negative 7. All right, I'm going to pick this second equation because the numbers look smaller. So I'm going to do 3x minus 2y equals 2. In for my y right here, I'm going to put a negative 7. Write the rest of the equation down. Negative 2 times negative 7 is a positive 14. Subtract 14 from both sides. And you get 3x equals negative 12. Divide by 3. And your x is equal to negative 4. Okay? Number 4. All right, number 4. If I'm looking at number 4, it would be easier to eliminate the y's. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply the top equation by 2. Okay, so that means I have to go 2 times 4 is an 8. 2 times 3 is a 6y. 2 times 1 is 2. I'm going to bring this equation straight over here, so that's a negative 3x minus 6y equals 3. Now this time I'm going to eliminate the y's. You could have also eliminated the x's. It doesn't matter. Okay, here I've got 5x. My y's are gone. 2 plus 3 is 5. Divide both sides by 5, and your x is equal to 1. So I'm going to come over here, make sure I put it in the 1 spot. Now I'm going to pick the top equation just so I don't have to mess with negatives, at least not right now. And I'm going to put 1 in for x this time. Write the rest of the equation down. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3y equals 1. Numbers to the right, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. I get 3y equals negative 3. Divide by 3, and your y is equal to negative 1. Okay, let's go look at number 5. Okay, number 5 says solve this by substitution. If you like elimination and you don't want to solve it by substitution, you can always move the 4x over to the right side by adding 4x and line up the variables and do elimination. But I'm going to go ahead and do this in substitution. I'm just saying take this and plug it into that equation for the y. So I'm going to put 2 minus 4x right there with the 2 plus 8y equals 4. So I just substituted that in for my y. Okay, do the distributive property. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8x. Bring down my 8y and my 4. The second step is to combine like terms. This should be an x. Sorry about that. I was looking to see what I messed up on. That's an x. Okay, 8x and negative 8x, those cancel each other out. So they're gone. So I get 4 equals 4. This is a true statement. So my answer is many solutions. Remember, if it would have been false, it would have been no solution. This is infinitely many solutions or many solutions. Okay, let's look at number 6. Number 6 says, which would be a good first step to use to solve this system? Okay, well, it all depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing by graphing, then I would solve each one for y. But I'm going to look, and they're set up to where you're doing elimination. So since this has a positive 2, if I multiply this one by the top equation by -2, then I could get rid of my y's. So I'm going to look through the answer. It says multiply the first equation by -2 and add the result to the second equation. I'm going to pick that one. Okay, where do these two lines intersect? Okay, this is a system, so I'm just trying to solve the system. You can do it any way you'd like. I'm going to look at this one, and it looks to me like it's set up for elimination, even though the x's and y's are switched, but I've got y on top of y and x on top of x. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this bottom one right here by a -2. So -2 times y gives me a -2y. -2 times x gives me a -2x. -2 times 3 gives me a -6. I'm going to write this one right over here. 2y plus 2x equal -6. Okay. I'm going to add these. Those guys will go away. Those guys go away. Oh no. So I have nothing over here equals -6 and -6. That's a -12. That right there is a false statement. So my answer would be no solution, which means they're parallel. So that means they do not intersect. Your answer is D.